Hi guys, sorry for being late, having some computer issues. The question for this block is how do the strategies dealing with teacher talk and classroom routine and review reflect the guidelines for practice presented in Chapter 1? One thing I can speak from experience is having a student that was learning English for the first year in my classroom at Carthage was one, making him feel comfortable. In the classroom, I know the new language everybody's speaking was important to let him know that there was some help and putting in the time, but also making the classroom more comfortable, which again, the book and the principles I'm going to get into in a second, but I think that was important. One, with welcoming the student, and his name was Andy. I'll just give you his first name. He really didn't understand a whole lot, especially the first few weeks. We got a lot of thumbs ups, when asking questions and stuff, and there was a lot of confusion. One thing I had my students do is create labels throughout the classroom. So the clock was for Spanish, and for homework, La Tarea, and different things like the window and things like that. We labeled the classroom. uh, but one thing I think it's important as a teacher is to understand that all students learn differently, whether they're coming from another country, which Andy happened to be, or they're coming from another state. Being at Carthage, we could see different states from military kids moving in. But one thing in chapter 1 that I really grasped my attention is about the strategic investment, where it says successful learning largely depends on the learner developing a set of strategies for understanding and producing the language involved in content learning. The greater the variety of strategies as a learner can develop for processing information, the greater possibility for academic success. Because students vary in their abilities to use individual strategies, teachers need to create opportunities to unlock the secrets of learning as a means of promoting academic success among students. I think that's important as far as the teachers as well. One thing that helped with Andy is I provided lessons in English and also in Spanish. I required him. He did not follow the curriculum verbatim, being his first year being exposed to English. I did separate assignments, but each day I would give him a lesson plan that I had written up. In Spanish, I would say hello, but over the course of 10 weeks to 20 weeks to 30 weeks, 40 weeks, they would get to have more and more English and less translation. I would allow Andy to also write in Spanish, and I got a translator app on my phone, which I also thought the technology was important. Andy also had an iPad in class where he could translate the information from English to Spanish. So, again, feeling comfortable in that environment, I feel that's also important. I think the books are really closely related in the survival guide and the 120 content strategies, but it also comes down to the student's needs. Each student is different. In one of the other videos I watched, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he had said about losing the content and having the other students suffer. I think that's really important that he said that too, because as a teacher, you're thinking, where are we now? Where are we going? And where do we want to be? And it's not like one student would hold them up, but I found that I also provided extra time at the end of the day, not as a punishment, but I also let Andy know that I was there. Videos. We did a lot of videos with the subtitles on the bottom, where we could speak a little bit. My favorite part with Andy was at the end of the year where he was writing in English. I mean, not grammatically correct 100%, but the growth was there. I could communicate with him. We could have a conversation. A little bit of broken English, but that's a start. And my main point to Andy was, look what you've done this year. If you continue to work through that, those tough rules that we talked about, and the funny looks that we had given each other because we were trying to explain and understand the language, will work themselves out. Practice makes perfect, and perfect practice makes permanent. But with English, it's very difficult with the rules, with any language, but English being extremely difficult. So overall, I believe having him feel comfortable in the class, supplemental material, like I did by writing the lessons, I think by seeing it in Spanish and not just English, it made him a lot more comfortable. Another thing is, we had a student in my class that could speak Spanish fluently, and he was the man. He was amazing. He helped me out tremendously. But the school paired him with this student in other classes, which math wasn't a big issue, being the universal with numbers. But with other classes, it was amazing that how much help that had given him. Thanks, guys. Appreciated talking to you.